My name is Scott Johnson. I have the privilege of serving Buffalo State as Dean of the University College and Associate Vice President for Undergraduate Education. And today, I want to talk to you in this context briefly about what University College is and does, and what that means in non-academic speak is essentially, as a first-year student, our mission is to help you get the most out of your educational experience while you're still exploring your options before you decide on your major. That's essentially what we're here to talk about today. So, that said, I'm going to have one of these moments. Yeah, click it for me. Thank you. You've heard me talk about University College. University College is a term that's used pretty widely throughout higher ed, but not outside of higher ed, which is why most people who are not working at a college campus don't understand what it is. It's not a very self-explanatory term. Now, university colleges are quite common. Roughly 200 or so universities across higher ed in the U.S. have university colleges or university college-like structures. At Buffalo State, the University College is the home of first-year students, meaning we're responsible for helping all students who are new to college make a successful transition from high school level academics to collegiate level academics. Secondly, we are responsible for students who have yet to decide a major, which is why we're all here today, because you're in both of those groups. Another thing we do is we're responsible for college-wide academic and enrichment programs, meaning that the things we oversee here are different types of academic experiences you can have regardless of your major. So those types of programs do still require academic and dean level oversight, but those are what the programs we do in University College are about. And we also oversee academic support units. So different types of admissions programs, as well as academic advising, academic skills, etc. We also have another charge which is not up there, which is we oversee general education for Buffalo State. So, what does that mean in practical terms for you sitting in the room? First, what we will do for you now is, well, not right now, but what we will do is pre-register you for courses that will count your first semester. And I'm going to talk about that in a little more detail. First, what we do for our incoming students, we've developed a process of which we are really quite proud. We allow every first-year student to go through what we're calling a seamless process that allows you to register for orientation, complete your health registration, as well as send in information that helps us put you in the right courses during your first semester. By doing all of that through that seamless integrated process, we want to make it as friendly for you as we can possibly make it. Now, the critical piece there for you is that the courses you receive will all count. Now, what does that mean? That means that whatever we put you in, it's threefold from our standpoint. First, you're put into a required course that all first-year students have to take, which is called BSc 101. You're going to hear more about that later. Second thing is you're put into whatever a major would require for the first semester. Not being in majors yet, we've selected particular courses based on your area of interest. If you express an area of interest, say in the social sciences, or in the natural sciences, or in the arts or humanities, we will put you in appropriate courses for those types of interest areas. Now, that means they will count toward your intellectual foundations requirements of your eventual bachelor's degree. So in that sense, it all matters towards your degree requirements, even if it may not be exactly the sequence required of the major you eventually declare. But you will be that much further ahead because you'll have already satisfied those requirements. Lastly, we make sure you're properly placed in the writing course according to your SAT or ACT or AP score. These are all things you're going to have to take anyway. So making sure that it's done correctly from our standpoint and from yours makes the process of getting started that much easier for you. And so that's one of the things we're very proud of. Secondly, we want to engage you in activities and courses that will help you choose the right major for you. Now, some of that logically flows from what I just said. That if you're thinking about exploring, say, majoring in criminal justice or majoring in chemistry or majoring in fine arts, one of the things that we will do is make sure that what you are taking, to the best of our ability, we make sure that it helps you determine through both your in-class and out-of-class experience whether or not this is where you might want to decide to declare. The best possible experience you can have while trying to chart this course is that you can determine that, yes, this is exactly where I want to be, and we will help you make sure that what happens to you on the way doesn't slow you down. One of the things that happens when students try to operate outside some of this advising is that they'll take courses that eventually don't count towards their degree requirements. And because that happens, it slows them down in terms of the graduation date. We are trying to help you avoid that problem in University College. That's one of our commitments. So as we do that, we will also recommend out-of-class experiences, maybe things through Career Development Center, maybe things in terms of working with your advisor to fill out particular types of self-assessment types of instruments, and in addition to our ongoing conversations about who are you and what do you aspire to be. And that's not as easy as it sounds, because one of the things we know about students who come to college is, first, it's perfectly okay to change your major. Please hear me on that, both students and parents. It's perfectly okay to change your major. In fact, most students do at some point over the course of their college career. It's also okay not to know what your major is now. It is okay not to know what your major is now. I know that kind of flies in the face of a lot of popular wisdom. It is okay. And it's okay for a variety of different reasons. I know I didn't know what I wanted to do for the rest of my life when I was 18. And in fact, the job I have now is not what I eventually declared when I was 19. So it's okay. It is okay. It's also possible, and this is more than likely going to be your experience as well, is that if you determine your eventual career goal, there are probably multiple academic paths to get to the goal. So if you want to do something, say, like go to law school, there are a variety of undergraduate experiences you can have that can prepare you for law school. You can major in a variety of different subjects. And that's okay. Choosing the right major for you, where you will be the most academically successful and get the most out of the experience, is the goal. And you can still achieve the goal of getting into law school. You could also have the other thing happen, where you're really excited about studying a particular thing, but you're not sure where it's going to take you. That's okay as well. That's okay as well. So it's our job to advise you and help you understand that. Through these types of conversations, our goal is to help you make the right choice for you. That's what it's about. Our experience has been that some folks like to rush you into a department, whether it's the right department for you or not. The unfortunate outcome of some of that is students end up becoming very, very unmotivated because they're studying things that they don't like. Students become disengaged from the institution because they're not having the experience that they wanted to have. And so we're seeking to avoid that. We're seeking to avoid that. For me, the most tragic thing is a student that actually does that track, but what happens is they underperform all through college. Meaning that you have a student who would be on fire to get A's in the right discipline, but they're getting B minuses and C's because they're just kind of phoning it in because they think this is where they ought to be. You do not want that to be your experience, especially if you're spending $5,000 a year on it. So what we're hoping is that you will pick the place where you can flourish the most. And our advisors work very, very hard to make sure that's what happens to you. But being undeclared now is okay. And that's the goal. So the third thing we will do for you is we provide the advisement that'll keep you on track for graduating in 4 years. That the important thing is that you don't waste a class, that you don't waste any time. Our goal is to make sure everything you do counts and that eventually you get out of here on time. That if it takes 120 credits, break that down into 8 semesters, that's roughly 15 credits a semester, which breaks out to approximately 5 courses a semester, and we make sure that you take the right courses. See, one of the things that we tell our students, and I'm telling you today, is that it's not simply about taking classes, it's about taking the right classes. That's how you graduate on time. Every bachelor's degree is composed of particular requirements that have to be fulfilled. So if you take courses that do not fulfill the requirements, you still have to take what does before you get the degree. So even if you rack up 120 credits, if you don't have the 120 correct credits, you will not get the degree when you expect it. We are helping you avoid that. That's the goal. Okay? And lastly, and this is one that's kind of a touchy subject for some folk, but we want to equip you to succeed in a college level environment. Now, what that means is not remediation. Folks hear me say that, and all of a sudden they assume that I want to automatically track folks into developmental courses. That is not the goal. If remedial courses are what you need, so be it. And there's nothing wrong with admitting that. It's better to take the remedial course and get the A in the requirement than it is to fail the requirement twice. So don't let that sort of ego piece get in the way of you eventually being successful. But this is also on a different level for most people. Because every student, well, here, let's take a straw poll. How many of you think that college is supposed to be exactly the same as you did in high school? Put your hand up if you think it's going to be exactly the same. Okay, so if it's not going to be exactly the same, then odds are every student is going to be challenged in a new way in some way. Everybody's going to be challenged in a new way in some way. And no matter what you achieved in high school, there are probably subject areas that you were good at and some that were harder for you. True? So, that being said, if you know that the work is going to be more difficult, even at what you were good at, in addition to what you struggled with, then odds are you probably need to learn some new ways to be successful at those things. One of the challenges for students, and this has been a story that we could write a little too familiar with too much familiarity, is that students will come and they will say, I'm not good at writing papers, for example, and I just don't like it. So they'll be in their CWP class. They'll start writing the papers. Their CWP professor will give them, say, a C- on the paper that they turned in. Now, the student will sit there and say, well, this got me an A in high school last year, but you're not in high school anymore. And the challenge that we see is that oftentimes students will go back and then try to do that same process, but they'll do it more intensely. So they'll think, well, if it took me 2 days to write this paper, I'm going to give myself 3 days. Or I'll make sure that I proofread it more carefully this time, whatever that eventually means in terms of real behavior. But the simple rule is this, is that more of a bad process does not give you a good outcome. Doing more of the wrong thing does not turn into doing the right thing. So what you have to do is be exposed to new things. You need to be exposed to new things. And working with tutors, working with faculty, working with advisors shows you those new options that you may not discover on your own. And that's the key. So when we say that, please hear me on this, because sometimes folks get this a bit twisted. We are not presuming failure. We are not presuming failure. What we are doing is coaching excellence. Please understand the difference between the two. Because no matter what you aspire to be, eventually you're going to have to compete for some of those exclusive goals you have. You heard me say earlier that I'm a criminal justice professor. Real world example. Almost every semester when I would teach, especially in the first year, roughly a third of the class would come to me and say, I want to be in the FBI. That's not a bad goal. I love the FBI. Problem with understanding that is that the FBI, for the basic entry-level enforcement investigative position in the FBI, usually they get roughly 6,000 applications for about 150 spots. And those are the cream of the crop. Okay? And that's the 6,000, not the 150. So, if you think roughly that you're going to come with the basics and say maybe a 3.0 average and be a standout member of that applicant pool, odds are that's not going to be your reality. Getting into a professional school, be it a med school, law school, grad school of any kind, intensely competitive these days. That said, the message I'm trying to convey to you is that you do not have the luxury of thinking you can merely coast as a freshman and still be at that result when you're ready to apply. Because the grades you get as a freshman still factor into your GPA. So if you get C's and B's at this level, you're going to spend 3 years making up for them if you don't correct them. That is not the experience you want to have. So coaching excellence has to begin from the start. The expectation of excellence has to begin from the start. In University College, that is our mission. So as you come to us, we will help you uncover those areas where you need to evolve as a learner and as a student so that you can be best positioned for that level of success. Okay? So, let me talk briefly about a couple of distinctive programs for our first-year students that you already heard me mention some of. First, one of the programs of which we are extremely proud is our BSc 101 course. This course will sound like some things you may have heard of at other institutions, but what we do here is pretty distinct. BSc 101 is required of all incoming first-year students. Now, you have the ability to take this course in a context that is most interesting to you. Now, what happens is this course is designed to help you master critical thinking skills and understand how the liberal arts work. You heard me allude to that in my remarks this morning, that across the liberal arts education, you want to integrate different bodies of knowledge and ways of knowing. When you do that and bring it together, it creates a highly educated individual. We start to teach you how to start integrating some of those skills from your very first semester. That's our goal. Because it's not traditionally how people have been taught. And that is different than the types of 101 courses you will see at many institutions. Many of those are in what we call academic parlance extended orientations, meaning they tell you where this office is, where that is. Or they try to equip you with certain degrees of student success skills. That is not a bad thing. That's just not what this course is. So when you hear us talk about BSc 101, we are not talking about that kind of course. We are talking about a course designed to help you become an excellent student, but excellent student on a different kind of level. The next program we're talking about are our learning communities. Learning communities at Buffalo State are extremely distinctive, and we're very proud of them because we offer students a full schedule that allows them to explore an interdisciplinary theme. These types of experiences have helped students go on to all kinds of academic and special achievement afterwards, we're finding in terms of our assessment here. Because, as I said before, those courses and those faculty are built to teach students to go in depth and to integrate. Those types of experiences have also turned into study abroad experiences in Ireland, study abroad experiences across the southern part of the United States, going to different civil rights sites. One of our learning communities makes a regular trip to the U.S. Department of Education to talk education policy. And this happens for students as they learn to appreciate what it means to study in depth with that kind of intensity. And that's what learning communities are about. Learning communities are not only for honor students, they are for everyone. But that's the goal. It's this intense learning experience that should help you become that kind of college learner. We also have a course called UNC 100, which is Mastering the Academic Environment. Those types of academic skills you heard me mention before, this course is designed to help you develop. You have the option of doing that informally in terms of talking with your advisors and faculty, but if you need the more formal structure of a course to expose you to some of that knowledge, UNC 100 is designed to deliver that for you. So there are lots of distinctive things you can do academically in the first year that will give you a leg up. This is only some of them. This is only some of them. You're going to hear me talk about some other programs as well. Let me talk about some out-of-class opportunities that we have in the first year that will also bring some of this up. First, we have a system of awards for our first-year students. We give awards for students who come to class in their first year and make exceptional contributions academically. Students who do research presentations, students who write exceptional pieces of work. Now, the great thing about this, if you actually win one of these awards, you can have your books paid for your sophomore year. That's the prize. And given what books cost, that's usually a pretty significant incentive. But these students have gone on to do exceptional things. In fact, our first winner of our first year award this year won the President's Award for Excellent Graduating Student. So she started strong, she finished even better. But that's the point, is that we teach students to aspire. We also give an award for a student who comes and makes a difference in terms of campus life. So if you get involved in a campus organization or campus club and you make an impact as a first-year student, you get the same prize. If you're nominated by your peers or by one of the faculty or staff that says this student has hit our campus and made a difference in who we are, you too become eligible to have that book payment for the sophomore year. So there's a lot of different opportunities, one of which is also Alpha Lambda Delta, which is a National Honor Society for first-year students. That we are one of few institutions in the region that has a chapter of this, which exposes our first-year students to a connection across the country that can put you in different levels of academic achievement and academic community. Okay? So that's just some of the things that are open to you. Again, remember what we're talking about here. This is about how even as a student who is yet to decide your academic home, you have the ability to do these types of things as a first-year student at Buffalo State, working with the undeclared advisors in University College.